So it's time to start. Please, let's welcome the Speaker of the Bulgarian National Assembly, Mrs. Tsveta KARAYANCHEVA. Госпожо Караянчева, имате думата.
Уважаеми господин президент на Република България, уважаема госпожо заместник-председател на Европейския парламент, Ваше превъзходителства, уважаеми колеги парламентаристи, скъпи гости, добре дошли в София. Конференцията на комисиите по европейски въпроси на парламентите в Европейския съюз се провежда в края на българското председателство на Съвета на Европейския съюз. Поехме председателството във време на големи предизвикателства в Европа и в света. Усилията на парламентарното измерение на българското председателство бяха насочени към консолидиране на Европейския съюз около общи действия за приоритетните политики чрез ефективен диалог на парламентарно ниво. Бихме искали Европейския съюз да продължи по този път и след нашето председателство, като политиките се формират и прилагат все по-ефективно за постигане на устойчиви резултати. За тази цел Българското народно събрание ще работи и занапред. През изминалите няколко месеца от първото събитие на парламентарното измерение на българското председателство на Съвета на Европейския съюз, председателски КОСАК, българската страна допринесе активно за постигане на целите, набелязани в програмата на триото Естония, България, Австрия. Българският парламент стана домакин на 6 важни срещи, които са платформа за сътрудничество между националните парламенти и Европейския парламент. Това бяха председателски КОСАК, Интерпарламентарната конференция по въпросите на общата външна политика и политика за сигурност и общата политика за сигурност и отбрана, Интерпарламентарната конференция за стабилност, икономическа координация и управление в Европейския съюз, наскоро основаната съвместна група за парламентарен контрол на Европол, среща на председателите на комисиите по енергетика и днешния пленарен КОСАК, с който ще отбележим още един етап от институционалното парламентарно сътрудничество по време на българското председателство на Съвета на Европейския съюз. Днес имам честта да открия последния парламентарен форум в рамките на първото българско председателство. Всички тези събития, макар и засягащи различни области и политики на Съюза, преминаха основно през призмата на дебата за бъдещето на Европа. Българското председателство успя да постави основен акцент и да върне вниманието върху интеграцията на страните от Западните Балкани в Съюза. В този контекст разширяването на Европейския съюз остава ключова политика, като главната цел е запазването на сигурността и просперитета на европейския континент. Надявам се постигнатата към момента подкрепа от националните парламенти и от Европейския парламент за процеса на разширяване за Западните Балкани да бъде адекватно отразена от нашите правителства и на предстоящия Европейски съвет. Като пример мога да дам приетото изявление на ръководителите на делегации, участващи в Интерпарламентарната конференция за общата външна политика и политиката за сигурност и общата политика за сигурност и отбрана през месец февруари тази година. Последната от приетата на срещата на върха на Европейския съюз Западни Балкани декларация от София 17 май 2018 година. Продължават усилията на правителствата и на европейските институции за съвместни действия за договаряне и приемане на ефективно законодателство в сферата на управлението на миграционните процеси и реформата в областта на убежището. В рамките на българското председателство беше постигнат значителен напредък в тази посока. Завършването на реформата в областта на убежището остава без алтернатива и намирането на компромисно решение от ключово значение. Предвид сложната среда за сигурност през последните години, бе даден нов тласък за съвместни действия за изграждане на ефективна отбранителна политика на Съюза. Учреденият Европейски фонд за отбрана и основаването на постоянното структурно сътрудничество ПЕСКО през 2017 година поставиха рамката за активно въздействие в сферата на отбраната между страните членки. Постоянното структурирано сътрудничество предоставя възможност за постигане на синергии в европейската отбранителна индустрия, което може само да има добавена стойност за обща отбранителна политика, успоредно с участието в НАТО. Важна част от политическия диалог за бъдещето на Европа Остават въпросите за многогодишната финансова рамка през периода 2021-2027 година. Предложението от Комисията бюджет и финанси в началото на месец май, вече на Европейския съюз 27, донесе и значителни структурни промени с намаляването на средствата на някои от традиционните политики – кохезионната и селскостопанската. Разбира се, това е неизбежно при желанието за финансиране на очертаните нови приоритети, като увеличаване на бюджета за чуждестранна помощ и много повече средства за отбрана. Така че продължава важният дебат за осъвременяването на политиката за сближаване и общата селскостопанска политика, за да се гарантира, че ще могат да бъдат запазени постигнатите резултати с по-малко ресурс. Дебатът за Европа доведе и до утвърждаване на Европейския стълб на социалните права в края на миналата година. От тогава сме свидетели на активен политически диалог, който има за цел изграждането на по-приобщаваща, по-ефективно действаща и по-справедлива Европа. Като парламентаристи подкрепяме предложението на процеса на създаване на все по-тесен съюз между народите на Европа, където решенията се приемат възможно най-близо до гражданите, в съответствие с принципите на субсидиарност и пропорционалност. Основно наше задължение остава изработването на законодателство, което е максимална степен отговаря на очакванията на европейските граждани и защитава техния интерес. Желая успех на форума. Благодаря ви.
Благодаря, госпожо Караянчева. А сега имам удоволствието да дам думата на президента на Република България, господин Румен Радев. Заповядайте.
Mrs. KARAYANCHEVA, Mrs. McGUINNESS, Mr. VIGENIN, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to Sofia. I understood that last night ice-breaking went pretty warm, so thank you for the invitation to attend your prestigious forum. I have the feeling that you have scheduled this forum to be held in a very interesting and important time. The world is changing with an amazing pace. Contrary to what we have expected, the world is getting more competitive, contradictory, and rival. In this very challenging, dynamic, and unpredictable environment, Europe faces a growing number of challenges, both external and internal. To take the evolving conventional conflicts in our proximity, the rival competition between the world's strategic players, terrorism, migrant pressure, cyber, all of them threaten the security of our citizens. Brexit, the economic discrepancies between North and South, East and West Europe, the growing social inequality, youth unemployment, complex cases like the mobility package, undermine our core values and principles: integrity, unity, and solidarity. The cumbersome bureaucracy of our institutions, the low speed of decision-making and implementation are solid drivers for our citizens to lose trust in European institutions. I perfectly know that each one of you can continue this long list of threats and risks. The biggest challenge today, however, is what our course of action should be. Discussing the future of the European Union is necessary, but far not enough. Time is pressing us to take specific actions to defend our values and principles, to protect the enormous achievements of our Union and further develop them. Forums like yours have special place in this regard. The active participation of the national parliaments in the discussions on the future of our common home, Europe, is crucial as they provide political legitimacy of the dialogue. National parliaments are important instrument, being an important transmission between the European policies, national institutions, and societies. And your position and your participation here as representatives of the most democratic institutions of our countries place you in a special role to have the ability to assess what have been achieved so far and to outline the future perspectives of the European policy. A substantial part of your plenary meeting is devoted to Bulgarian priorities and achievements of our presidency of the Council of the European Union. The rotating presidencies have turned to be a crucial instrument in moving forward the European agenda. This is why the assessment and discussions of each member state's rotating presidency is vitally important in order to achieve good lessons learned, to move forward and to develop a vibrant European agenda, to improve collaboration and decision-making. Assessing such a complex activity as the presidency of the Council of the European Union requires, to me, a complex system of criteria, starting from setting up the priorities and finishing with the final results. Leaving the profound analysis of the Bulgarian presidency of the Council of the European Union to the experts, I will only highlight some key elements of the Bulgarian contribution to the common European project. First, the Bulgarian government developed proper priorities for its presidency. Let's take Western Balkans, for instance. All of us would agree that we cannot talk about prosperous and stable Europe without guaranteeing the security and stability of the Western Balkans. We say that if we do not provide European perspective to the Western Balkans, sooner or later they will provide Balkan perspective to Europe. Bulgarian government showed courage in selecting a very tough topic. The region is so fragile that there is no guarantee for success at all. But someone needed to take the responsibility to pinpoint the problems and to initiate discussions and actions. The Bulgarian government demonstrated persistency in bringing back the focus on the Western Balkans in a very destructive environment. The Iranian nuclear agreement, the trade war blast, the mobility package. Despite the many destructive factors, the Bulgarian government succeeded in managing the European Union agenda, showing resilience and organizational skills, and developing an atmosphere of open and honest dialogue. As a result, since 1st of January, Bulgaria managed to ensure a broad consensus between member states and European institutions on important topics, ranking high on the European agenda. We succeeded to finalize a lot of key dossiers of high importance. Of course, as in each rotating presidency, there were some issues on which we were not able to reach a consensus. But on many others, we found a common ground. And despite of the fact that this consensus was found through serious compromises, we can move forward. And as a strong supporter of the European project, Bulgarian government succeeded and paid huge efforts in moving forward and looking for a progress in the various directions. To mention security, to mention social security and social rights, the digital single market as a necessary framework for European prosperity and competitiveness. Brexit, we launched the preliminary dialogue on the future European budget, looking for a balance between traditional and new policies. The cohesion policy, as a cornerstone of our values and principles, we continue to defend the important role of cohesion, of convergency, for moving forward our agenda and for achieving success in each endeavor of the European Union, for keeping our integrity and for placing European Union stronger on the global arena. While under preparation for handing over the presidency to our Austrian partners, the Bulgarian government continues to pay efforts in progressing of many important dossiers. The key of our success is that we brought to the fore the unity as a decisive factor for achieving effective solutions. Our slogan is, "United, we stay strong." And this slogan is placed high on the building of the Bulgarian parliament. It is on our coat of arms, and it best reflects the Bulgarian national philosophy. I would like to use this opportunity to thank the hundreds of Bulgarian officials and young volunteers for their outstanding work for the success of the European idea. Wishing you a successful plenary meeting and pleasant stay in Sofia, I will openly share that I have never ever dreamt that parliamentaries from all the European Union member states will greet me for my 55th birthday. Thank you.
Благодаря, господин президент.
Thank you, Mr. President. We even more appreciate your participation today on behalf of all participants. We wish you good health, courage, strength in the efforts you make in order to achieve even more prosperity in Bulgaria and the European Union. And now allow me to give the floor to Ms. Mairead McGUINNESS, the first Vice President of the European Parliament. You have the floor, Madam.
Good morning, colleagues. I couldn't but stop to wish the President a very happy birthday. I thought that was most appropriate.
I will not ask you to sing happy birthday on this occasion, but maybe later in the day we can do that. And I think, President, you've set a very good tone to our important meeting today. So let me begin formally by saying how pleased I am to be here on behalf of the European Parliament to acknowledge President of Bulgaria, Mr. RADEV, President of the National Assembly, Madam KARAYANCHEVA, of course our Chairman, Mr. VIGENIN, whom I earlier said has been such a strong leader in all of this process. Thank you for that. And if I may, because already I spoke with the Deputy Minister Paniatova to thank her, because she and I spent a lot of time in the chamber of the European Parliament where she responded to many of our debates. So it's a great pleasure to be in Sofia today. And I think we should thank very warmly the Bulgarian presidency for the preparation of this meeting, which has been excellent, and for the hospitality, which has also been excellent. So thank you for both. As the President outlined, these are very challenging times for Europe and our European Union. And this COSAC meeting will address some of the key questions which will determine our future, including the European perspective on the Western Balkans, social rights and cohesion policy, and our interparliamentary cooperation, and these very important principles of subsidiarity and proportionality. I'm looking forward to discussing these topics of common concern with our colleagues from national parliaments. The biannual report prepared by the COSAC Secretariat, and very well prepared, again demonstrates the importance that both the national parliaments and the European Parliament give to all of these questions. The European Union Western Balkans Summit, organised by the Bulgarian Presidency in Sofia in May 17th, defines specific steps to improve connections in the region and with the European Union, crucial to strengthening the ties between the European Union and our Balkan partners. It will bring our economies closer and improve economic stability. It will also connect people and bring them closer to each other. Digital networks will foster industrial and economic development. Faster transport networks will improve mobility in the region and with the European Union. The Sofia Declaration is an important step in this direction. It underlines the European Union's interest in the future of the region and, crucially, has translated this into very concrete proposals. And again, I would like to congratulate the Bulgarian presidency for this success. Today, we will discuss the results of the summit and future developments. Social rights and cohesion policy are key elements of our European way of life, which is quite unique in the world, and perhaps a way of life which we come to take for granted. We can be proud of our European model, but we must work to develop and indeed protect it. The principle of a competitive social market economy is enshrined in the Treaty of the European Union, and the European Parliament has always underlined the need to develop further a European social model which is embedded in a social market economy, empowers people, and enables sustainable prosperity. A strong pillar of social rights should deliver concrete and positive results for our citizens. Tangible results in this area will enhance and convince people of the value of the European Union for their personal lives and well-being. Most parliaments have discussed the European Pillar of Social Rights, the biannual report. The social consequences of the financial crisis are the most pressing issue to be addressed by the social pillar. An overwhelming majority of respondents in the biannual report agree that there is a need for more coordination of member states' social policies at EU level. Cohesion policy has an impact on people's lives throughout the European Union. It is an extremely important topic for all of us. But there are questions, like what are the objectives we should focus on? How can we achieve results with European added value? What is the right level of funding? And how can this be financed in the future multi-annual financial framework? The topics of subsidiarity and proportionality are key questions in our debates here in COSAC. The European Parliament strongly supports these two fundamental principles of the European Union and its institutions as a means to ensure that the Union's actions in areas of competence provide real added value. In Strasbourg recently, the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte reminded us and spoke about the need to focus on core tasks that will promote the Union's effectiveness, strength and identity. Indeed, he said we need to under-promise and over-deliver. Citizens expect us to deal with the big challenges of our time: migration, security, climate change, and expect the European Union to deliver in areas where it can provide higher added value. But we also need to convince our citizens that there will be change and to bring them on that journey with us. It goes without saying that national parliaments play a key role in ensuring that the subsidiarity principle is respected by the mechanisms provided for under the Lisbon Treaty. In our last session, we'll have an opportunity to discuss the practical application of the principles and developments in this area. I think we can go further and do more by discussing together the content of legislative files between our rapporteurs in Parliament and members of national parliaments on topics that have a particular relevance. Can I also say at this point that next year, this time indeed next year, the European Parliament elections will be over and we will know the shape of the future European Parliament. And before we get to that point, I think it is incumbent on all of us who are elected to encourage our citizens to express their views and to participate in elections to the European Parliament, hopefully in the same way as they participate in elections for their national and local assemblies. We want and need citizens to take ownership of the politics of the European Union and be engaged in European debates. I think that will be a challenge for us. Many of us know that when it comes to European Parliament elections, the national agenda becomes the election issues. I think we need to raise European agenda points during our debates in those elections, and we need our national parliaments to help us in that task. It would be a win-win for all of us if we can do that. We have to explain how we work together, because sometimes there is a sense from our citizens that it is a little bit of a mystery. So we need to talk to our citizens about how the national parliaments and the European parliaments work together and how we are all striving to do that better and more effectively. I just remarked that in my country we are celebrating 100 years of women getting the vote in Ireland. Not all women. There were women who had property and were of a certain age. And I would say to women in particular of the need to participate, because we didn't always have the vote. And to young people especially, we would urge and encourage young people to take part in the election process. Of course, the European elections is the one I speak of, but indeed to all elections. And President, can I congratulate the many young Bulgarian volunteers who made your presidency particularly special. And I dare say that they will be engaging in elections to all parliaments and hopefully the European Parliament, because the future that we're trying to create is the future they will inherit, but they also have to be part of making that future stronger. So I think it's really encouraging that so many of your young citizens are engaged. I'm sure we're going to have lots of very fruitful discussions and differences here today, because I think it is in our differences that we can make progress. I am never, as a politician, challenged when people question me about my views and policies. I'm very encouraged by that, because it is by sharing the different views that we can strengthen and make policy for the future much better. And as elected representatives of citizens, we are all responsible to find answers to these future challenges. I listed some, but I think your President listed the many that are there, including Brexit and other issues which will impact on all of us. The reason we gather today is because we all believe in democracy. We are all part of a European Union. And while we might have some different nuances about aspects of European Union policy, I think that the European Union is perhaps more aware than ever that it is a construct of cooperation by our forefathers who had incredible vision, but that it cannot survive on its own. The oxygen for its survival will be the engagement of national parliaments and the European Parliament and the absolute support of our citizens. That is the challenge for us here today. It is the challenge for us in our daily political life. And let me conclude by saying the motto of your presidency on unity, united we stay strong, is particularly apt. And we can find unity in difference. Those who would detract, if you like, from the European Union point to our differences. I point to differences as being part of our strength. And we will be judged not on the scale of those differences, but on our ability as elected representatives to find a way forward. So thank you this morning to our hosts. I wish us well in our discussions, and I hope that after our 2 days of engagement, we will return to our respective chambers, reinvigorated with a common view that the European Union is indispensable and is very well worth defending. Thank you.
Уважаеми господин президент,
Mr. President, Madam Speaker of the Bulgarian National Assembly, ministers, members of parliament, excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to welcome you to the plenary session of the Commission on European Affairs of the committees on European affairs of the national parliaments. I remember that back in January, we laid the foundations of the Bulgarian presidency, while today and tomorrow we are going to focus on the final accords. I hope they would be positive. I hope that this is a good opportunity to thank the Bulgarian President, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Bulgarian Prime Minister, who is going to join us shortly. And this is the time to stress that the Bulgarian presidency was supported by all the political parties. There was a lot of support from the general public and the political consensus. The motto, United we stayed strong, of the Bulgarian presidency, expressed our conviction that will make our contribution towards a more united, a balanced, more secure and just Europe. We certainly would not be under the illusion that in the course of 6 months all the challenges and serious problems can be resolved. They have now become the diagnosis of the Union in the last few years. But unity is strength, and we should believe in it. Europe is one big whole made up of many divergent elements, and it can only function adequately if the national institutions, the national parliaments, and the EU ones function in the same direction. We need to pull one way in order to deal with the challenges that the Union and its citizens are facing. Of course, there are differences. Of course, there are debates. Sometimes we even fight among us, but we are convinced that the European principles guide us, and we should never forget why the European nations decided to work together for more than 60 years ago. In May next year, there are going to be a lot of discussions on strategic issues, issues of the future of the European Union, Brexit, the European budget after 2020, the reform of the common asylum system, the system of common defense. At the national and European level, we have to understand that behind each of these debates, there are the dreams and the hopes of 500 million Europeans. If hope is lost, then there is no motivation, no viability which will help us move forward. I think that the deliberations on the above-mentioned working program are useful and very timely. The future of the debate about the future of Europe, about the regional and European and national dimension of the policies of Europe, will involve today representatives of academia, media, NGOs, the NGO sector, and politicians. It will be important to hear not only their expert viewpoint, but also some recommendations which I hope we will take on board. I hope that by the end of the plenary, we will come up with a common position on the topics which we are going to debate and which we will then be presented to the European Parliament, the European Commission and the Council as a demonstration of the active involvement of national parliaments in the decision-making process. It is also a demonstration of the legitimacy and support for the agenda of the Union. And now I am going to shift to another language, but before that, allow me to thank our guests. And while thanking them, we allow them to leave, and we'll continue with our agenda. Thank you.
So we continue this part, despite the fact that the official language of the presidency is Bulgarian. I would not risk to hold this part in Bulgarian. Let's try it in English. First of all, I would like to extend a warm welcome to COSAC to Mr. Kristian Buchmann, Chair from the Austrian Federal Council, as well as to Mr. Angel Tilver, who is attending COSAC for the first time as Chair from the Romanian Chamber of Deputies. Now I would like to briefly inform you on some practical issues of our meeting. Interpretation is available in all EU languages. You will find in front of you a list with all the channels as well as the information about the Wi-Fi access. For your information, the conference will be streamed live both today and tomorrow on our webpage, parliu2018bg.bg. You can also follow our committee on Twitter and Facebook. When requesting the floor, please use the colored cards that were placed in your folders. After filling in your name and chamber, please hand the cards to the designated desk request for the floor. It must be somewhere on the left there. Requests will be taken until the end of the speech of the last keynote speaker in each session. Once we open the floor for debate, we will no longer accept requests. However, you can request to speak to the different panels already now for all the other panels, including tomorrow. That will help our organization as well. The floor will be given to the delegates in the order in which their requests have been submitted. The speaking list of order will be displayed on the screens above, as well as the remaining time for your intervention. Please note that the time allocated for your interventions may vary throughout the session, but shall not exceed 2 minutes. Please prepare for that. 15 seconds before your time is up, the chair will give you a signal with the bell. It sounds like that. Given that our time is limited, we kindly ask you to consider in advance during which sessions you would like to make your interventions. When it is your turn to take the floor, the chair of the session will address you. Please press the button only then, otherwise you will automatically cut off the previous speaker. Do not press the button again when you finish your speech. I know sometimes it's difficult to remember that, so there might be some problems throughout the meeting, but don't worry, we'll manage that. All the relevant documents for our meeting have been uploaded on our website as well as the COSAC website. Printed copies are also available on the tables outside the hall. If you need assistance with printing any of them, please refer to our staff. Water, soft drinks, coffee and snacks will be served outside the hall during the whole conference. And finally, if you have any questions, our staff is more than happy to assist you. Those are the people with the white lanyards. Dear colleagues, now we can proceed to the adoption of the agenda for the 59th Plenary COSAC meeting. A draft program of our meeting has been distributed to you. Let me briefly recap the agenda. The first session will be a short overview of what has been achieved during the Bulgarian presidency. The second one will concentrate on the integration and connectivity of the Western Balkans, one of the key topics for our presidency. The third session will be dedicated to the European Social Pillar. Tomorrow we'll continue with the last two sessions, one dedicated to the future of the cohesion policy and the final one with the participation of the first Vice President of the Commission, Timmermans, will concentrate on the interparliamentary cooperation in the context of the debate on subsidiarity and proportionality. There is also a last-minute change regarding some of our keynote speakers. Mr. Michel Riesberman, I hope I pronounced it correctly, from the Committee of the Regions will be able to join us for the fourth session dedicated to the future of the cohesion policy. I'm very glad that we'll have a representative of the Committee of the Regions. Their perspective on this matter is particularly important to us. And Mr. Elmar Brok, on the other side, will not be able to attend as initially planned due to some urgent matters he has to attend in Germany. Nevertheless, I'm hopeful that we'll have a fruitful discussion in the second panel as well. You will also notice that for each session we have both a chair and a moderator. The chairs are members of our EU Affairs Committee, and we have the challenging task to manage the debate with the delegates during the debate. The moderators have various backgrounds, journalists, academics, and they will manage the debate or the interventions of the keynote speakers, and we'll try to offer also different perspectives on the topics that we discuss. I would also like to remind you that during our lunch break, the colleagues from the Dutch and Danish Parliament will be hosting a side event on transparency. You have all received invitations for it. Those who would like to join are welcome to the event. It will take place in Hall 8. Now I open the floor for comments. I don't see. Mr. Kirschbaum, please, you have the floor.
Vielen Dank, Herr Vorsitzender.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to comment not so much on the items on the agenda as to the order in which speakers are called. I'd like to suggest that in future we mention not just the country of the person who is given the floor, but the party family they belong to. I think that adds to transparency, clarity. There's a lot in favour of it, and there's no possible objection to it. You may not be able to implement this today, but for future COSAC events, you should take this suggestion into account. In addition to the name and the country, you should also mention the family.
Taken, Mr. Kirschbaum. I would like to mention, however, that not all of the delegates have indicated their family or party affiliation. But we should take that into account. And what we can do, however, maybe the speakers, if they wish so, could mention also their party when they present themselves. Then if there are no comments on the agenda, let's adopt it. We consider it adopted and we move further. The next item on our agenda are the procedural issues and miscellaneous matters. First, I would like to brief you on the results of yesterday's Troika meeting. I'm very pleased to inform you that the Troika agreed a compromise text of the draft contribution of the 59th COSAC as well as the draft conclusions, both of which have been sent to you. You can also find printed copies in front of you, as well as on the tables inside and outside the hall. In case a delegation does not agree with the compromise text proposed by the Troika and wishes to resubmit its amendments in their original version, the delegation is asked to resubmit such amendments again following the established procedure. For the Troika compromise text, where the amendments are not resubmitted, we shall consider that consensus is reached. So have a careful look at the final version you got today. You can submit your written amendments in English and/or French by noon, 12 o'clock today. Please send them to the Presidency, keeping in copy the COSAC Secretariat. Please refer to the formatting instructions previously given to you. That would help us. Moving on the next item, I would like to welcome Mr. Kenneth Kurmi, the permanent member of the COSAC Secretariat, who will present the 29th biennial report of COSAC. Mr. Kurmi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and
thank you, Ms. McGuinness, for the appreciation expressed with regard to the work done by the Secretariat on the biannual report. As you all know, this is my first COSAC plenary in my capacity as permanent member of the Secretariat. Taking inspiration from the Chair, Mr. VIGENIN, who repeatedly stressed his wish to make the biannual report more visible, and instead of boring you with a list of statistical figures and numbers, which I doubt would register anyway, I have prepared a short presentation to make the experience somewhat more pleasant. The report itself is, of course, available outside. The presentation will explore some of the questions found in the report on the task force, on Protocol 2, and suggestions by parliaments on how to improve it without treaty change, including the green card. Although I must say that I have just finished revising a paper I am about to get published, and in it I recall that during our presidency, Mr. Timmermans had concerns with the green card as it would go against the treaty. Then it will also explore the MFF and on the pillar of social rights. With regards to the Western Balkans, it is true that some doubts and concerns were raised and expressed by some parliaments, but counterbalancing that is a general willingness towards a greater cooperation and inclusion, especially when it comes to COSAC activities. I would also like to point out that the presentation will be made available online after the meeting. Also, since I was already asked a couple of times, no, I did not use a template. What you are about to see I built from scratch, which wasn't easy, but thankfully I had the support of a good secretariat. But I'll stop here and let my presentation do the rest of the talking, so perhaps we can start the video now.
So I hear no applauses, but congratulations, Mr. Kurmi. Let me also thank the COSAC Secretariat for their hard work in compiling this report. I think that we have succeeded in our ambition for the 29th biennial report to be above all well-structured, sufficiently focused. I also found it very informative. And as previously discussed, we should all try to promote it as an expression of interparliamentary cooperation. I speed up a bit because we should welcome now Mr. Boyko Borisov, Prime Minister of Bulgaria, is with us, preparing for the first panel. I should say a few words now, which is part of our technical beginning of our meeting, something about the letters we have received during these months. On 3rd and 4th of June 2018 in Warsaw took place the biennial meeting of the Committees on EU Affairs of the Parliaments of the Visegrad countries. The colleagues have kindly shared with us the conclusions adopted during their meeting. A letter from the IPEX board regarding the integration of the COSAC website within the IPEX framework, accompanied by a very thorough analysis of this possible integration, was sent to us. Based on this, the Presidency is happy to suggest that we follow through with the integration, as this will both facilitate the interparliamentary cooperation and will bring our work closer to the citizens, make us also more visible. Following my letter from 11th May to all the delegations, in which I asked them to send their written contributions to the work of the task force, we have received several letters from different national parliaments. In addition to the Czech, Danish and Dutch papers from several months ago, we also have contributions from the Finnish, French, Latvian, Maltese, Portuguese, Romanian and Swedish parliaments. I believe that these contributions provide an invaluable input to the work of the task force, and I'm confident that they will be considered in the process of finalizing the task force report. All of these contributions are now available on the COSAC website. Letters from the parliaments of Andorra, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Monaco and Ukraine, who requested to attend the 59th COSAC as observers. Based on the rules of procedure and after consulting with the Troika, the Presidency is glad to welcome them in Sofia. Two letters from the chairs of Ukraine, Georgia and Moldova, one in regard to the future multi-annual financial framework and the resources allocated for EU external actions, and another one asking if it will be possible to change COSAC rules of procedure in order to grant them the status of permanent observers to COSAC. Of course, this is not something that we can or should decide now, but I have to say that we must not ignore the attempts of the associated partners for more involvement in the interparliamentary activities. I'm eager to initiate a more in-depth discussion within COSAC and see where we have some room for improvement. After all, the COSAC rules of procedures are not a treaty, so we should not be afraid to update them.